everybody, this is Renee, and we are thrilled that you're here today at Miss Lillian's Paint University. We're going to be talking about Miss Lillian's Texture Magic, and we're going to be using it to do stencils. Texture Magic is a white powder, and you mix equal portions of the Texture Magic with Miss Lillian's No Wax Chalk paint. And whatever color you mix it with, the color will stay true. This here is an example that I've already done. The background is Miss Lillian's No Wax Chalk Paint Kiss Kiss. And then for the stencil, I used Miss Lillian's No Wax Chalk Paint Pyramid Gold. I did two different textures. This one was pulled very tight. I'll explain that whenever I show you the example. And this is a close-up. And also another little tip is I always keep these makeup sponges on hand. One end is pointed and the other end is flat, and they're compressed so they're not fuzzy. But like if you have any bleed through, like it was right here just a little bit before the Texture Magic dries, you can take and wet this a little bit, and then you can just run that right along the edge and just pull that right off. Or say if it was in one of these areas, they come in very handy. And then this is one that I just done just on the wood. I didn't paint it, and I mean this is hard. It's not going anywhere. And with this one I did a little bit different. I'm going to have to hold it at a different angle. Hopefully you can see. I let this one be just a little bit thicker than I did the other one. So let me get things set up, and I will show you how to use it for stenciling. Be right back. Okay, I was going to show y'all what I use before I place my stencil into position, is I use this here. And there are several kinds out there, but this is the one that I stick with most of the time, the stencil adhesive. And what you want to do is you want to hold it back about 12 inches, and you want to keep an even, steady motion. You don't want to just keep spraying in one spot, and you don't want to overspray, because if you get too much on, then it could leave residue on your surface, and you don't want that. And so you just do an even flow, 12 inches or this away, whichever, and then you kind of let it air dry for just a little bit before you put it into position, and then you're ready to go. But although I will still, even though I'm using the stencil adhesive spray, once I get it into position, I'll still use tape to help hold it in place. Okay, now what I do normally is I will use clear cups like this whenever I'm using it for stenciling, and for a lot of other projects as well. I will take and pour out equal portions of the powder in one and the paint in the other, and then I will take and add the powder into the paint this way, so that I'm not pouring out of the container and possibly end up mixing up too much or getting it too thin and then having to add a little bit more powder. And another tip, what I do is, in case I do need just a little more paint, I will keep a stir stick like this that is clean, so that I can dip it down in the paint and then drizzle into my Texture Magic and Miss Lillian's No Wax Chalk Paint color. I have already started mixing this up, and I believe I am going to need just a little more, so I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I'll just do that so that I can drizzle it in, and I know that I'm not going to get too much. I would rather do that a couple of times than to end up having to add too much powder and then end up adding too much paint. And whenever you're stirring, you want to make sure that you get on the sides and on the bottom and mix it really well. See, I need just a little bit more. And I kind of held back on the paint so that I could show that to you, because you want it to be the consistency of maybe not quite cake icing for this application. I may use it just a little bit thicker. Okay, you can see that right there is about what I've got mixed up. Okay, now I use two different things to apply with. I will use a cake decorating knife like this. You can get these at Michael's. And what I do is I like it because if I'm going to dip down in the cup, I can just dip and go if I'm going to be doing a heavier application. And I'll show you what I mean by that. See, I can just dip right in there, and I like this because then my hands are not going to get into any of what I have mixed up into your Texture Magic paint mixture. And then you can see that'll just go on just like that. Very easy to do. And I'm not really putting a lot of pressure. I'm just keeping it even and steady. And the base on this is Miss Lillian's No Wax Chalk Paint in the Onyx. And also keep in mind that if you're stenciling, you don't have to fill in your whole area. You can leave some places void if you're kind of going for an older look. And it's okay that it is kind of sticking out over the edge a little bit. It's just creating the look that you're going for. And if you'll see right there, the knife just lifted that up, so you really want to be careful. And whenever you spray your adhesive, you want to double check and make sure that you've got it down really well so that that doesn't happen. But you know what? That is okay because it can be fixed. And you don't want to mix up very much. You want to just mix up what you need because you can always mix more. Now that is one way, and say I wanted to leave that a little thicker, then that would be fine. But say I want to take a little more off, I use these here, and you can get those from Harbor Freight, and then you can just cut them in half and use this edge, and then what you can do is you can pull that. See how much you're pulling off? And that's a lot of product. So it goes a long ways. But you don't want to pull so hard that you're going to pull up your stencil. And this one has been quite used. So as you can see, I have pulled up a lot of product there, right on the edge of the cup, and I just put it back in the edge of the cup. Okay. And I'll pull my tape up. And there you go. Isn't that pretty? Now, let me lift that up where you can see. Okay, now to clean my stencils, I will show y'all how I clean them, and it works really great. You can get these pans at Home Depot, Lowe's, any hardware store. They are pans that go underneath a hot water heater, and they are fabulous for cleaning your stencils because you can lay them down in there, let them soak, and then I'll take and I'll use this side or that side, but I'm very careful to not overwork and pull up the intricate parts of the stencil. And also, if you're going to use the knife, it's not sharp like a cutting knife, but you still want to be very careful. Like if you're using something like this, you don't want to run your fingers down the edge because it could possibly still cut. So we hope y'all have enjoyed this, and if you need any other assistance on any instructions on how to apply any of Miss Lillian's No Wax Chalk Paint products, visit her website at www.misslillianspaint.net under the facts section. Y'all have a blessed day.